Welcome back to My Heroes. I'm Abe Pildas. Today, in celebration of Black History Month, I would like to present three of my heroes: Gordon Parks, John Simmons, and Gerald Cyrus. Before Gordon Parks was a hero of mine, and before I was a photographer, I had seen his photos in Life magazine. One of his most famous photos is the interpretation of Grant Wood's American Gothic. This photo is so powerful, you can't ignore it or its message. Years later, I viewed Parks's documentary of Flavio's story about a journalistic assignment he shot for Life magazine. That taught me to be compassionate and revisit my earlier photos and build a longer narrative. Please watch this documentary. Here is a photo of Parks carrying a child out of the favela, the slums in Rio de Janeiro, as part of that story that he did on Flavio. The last image I have there of him is a kid looking out probably a teenager looking out of a manhole cover on the streets. I think it was New York City. Anyway, really a wonderful image. I love that image. Parks was a creative photographer, a composer, an author, a poet, and a film director. I can't even begin to scratch the surface of all his accomplishments. Another hero of mine is John Simmons, a photographer who was in the thick of the civil rights movement. He also is an award-winning cinematographer, painter, and professor. John continues to document people of color and to make films about Black life. I met John at the Perfect Exposure Gallery. He is very supportive and giving of his time. He has been a professor at UCLA Film School for more than 25 years. Again, I can't do him justice here with just a few photos. His photo of this child eating the ice cream cone is just wonderful, really perfect. And his pictures of the civil rights movements, like the Free Huey photo, is just typical of what he's photographing. And, the picture of Dump Trump, of a guy climbing a light pole, is just part of the movement and his feelings about what's going on in this country. Try and look him up. You'll be rewarded. Lastly is Gerald Cyrus. Gerald Cyrus is a new acquaintance. I was drawn to his Stormy Monday series of jazz photos in New York City. I met Cyrus last year at an exhibit at the African American Museum here in LA. We spoke and I found we had several things in common. In addition to jazz, Cyrus is also a street photographer, and his photos speak to me as they capture everyday life with a similar style as my own. In his book, Portraits of Camden, his photographs are intimate and personal. He also gives a print to his subjects, just as I do. My takeaway from Cyrus was to keep shooting in neighborhoods that I am less familiar with. There are many more African American photographers that are important and that I would like to give a shout out to. Here are a few: Anthony Barbosa, also from Los Angeles; Harry May Weems, who I met in the 70s in Los Angeles, maybe the one of the first African-American photographers; James Vanderzee, and another friend of mine, Abarianex Perello, just to name a few. I always felt welcome and comfortable taking photos of African Americans, and I am passionate about their culture. It started with jazz. The first picture I have to show you today is my photograph of John Coltrane. I took many, many jazz pictures, but this one has a life of its own now. That was the beginning. My next picture I'd like to show you is a picture called Power to the People, taken on Hollywood Boulevard. This photo also has a life of its own and is in the collection of LACMA and other private collections and other museums. My last picture for today is a current picture, and this picture is taken in Skid Row. I had been taking pictures of on the 4th of July of people standing in front of American flags. Recently, I took a flag down to Skid Row and hung it upside down on a flag to signify that we are not okay, that this country is in trouble. The flag upside down is a symbol of distress. I asked people to pose in front of it. In this picture, this woman was posing, and she is being photobombed by another person who is saying, "Spare anything." This is just one of a series of We Are Not Okay. Try and look that one up. I'm happy to have presented this week's My Heroes and my own photos to celebrate Black History Month. Thank you. See you again next week.